Vessel containment procedures. Foundation naval forces are to patrol SCP-4217's territory with 3 or more battleships under the guise of British Royal Navy during a hostile state. Naval forces are to engage SCP-4217 until it reverts to a passive state. Survivors from civilian vessels attacked by SCP-4217 are to be recovered and processed in accordance with maritime disinformation protocols. Description: SCP-4217 refers to both the Bismarck, an anonymous German battleship sunk on 1941 527, and the large cephalopod organism that is fused to the inside of its hull. SCP-4217-B possesses a pair of occupied eyes which protrude from the base of SCP-4217-A superstructure, and 12 100 to 200 meter long muscular hydrostats that extend from an opening in the stern. Aside from the presence of SCP-4217-B, SCP-417-A shows no sign of damage sustained from battle or subsequent decades submerged underwater. SCP-4217-B operates SCP-421-A's systems. This includes its full armament of 8 main guns, 44 secondary guns, and 12 anti-aircraft guns. SCP-4217-B can also operate SCP-4217-A's propellers to reach speeds approaching 40 knots, but only while surfaced. While submerged, SCP-4217 achieves locomotion via ejection of water from SCP-4217's body cavity with average speed of approximately 30 knots. SCP-4217 typically remains submerged at depths of 500 to 1100 meters, navigating its territory. However, SCP-4217 will periodically surface and enter a hostile state. During this period, SCP-4217 will seek and attack non-threatening targets such as civilian cargo ships. If significantly damaged, it will revert to a passive state. Otherwise, it reverts after a median 9 hours. Addendum 1. History: the SCP-4217 designation previously referred only to the Bismarck itself, which was believed to have been neutralized in 1941. A previous version of this document can be found next. Number: SCP-4217. Object Class: Presumed Neutralized. Formerly Keter. Special Containment Procedures. Information regarding SCP-4217's anonymous properties is to be suppressed according to standard protocols. The British Royal Navy has agreed to aid the Foundation in this effort. Foundation agents embedded and the German military will attempt to gain access to information regarding the Tirpiz in order to determine if it's a second instance of SCP-4217. Upon development of necessary submersive technology, a survey is to be conducted of SCP-4217's records in order to verify its neutralization. Description: SCP-4217 is the Bismarck, a battleship designed and built for use by the German Kriegsmarine. Several pieces of anonymous technology were incorporated into ship's design. Thermological symbols etched into the outer hull at key locations to reinforce SCP-4217's belt armor. These symbols are not visible at most times, but while active will luminesce in proportion to the amount of damage being mitigated. A weak psionic field with radius exceeding 20 kilometers. The field appears to cause individuals with hostile intent towards SCP-4217 to experience confusion regarding the ship's identity, increasing the likelihood of friendly fire when affected individuals mistake Allied vessels for SCP-4217. Potential self-repair capabilities. Damage sustained during the Battle of the Bismarck Strait was observed in subsequent engagements to have been partially repaired in a manner visually resembling the healing of wounds in organic tissue. Terry cells containing an unknown gas with mutagenic properties. Organisms exposed to compounds will undergo rapid mutations. Observed mutations include growth and loss of limbs, sensory organs, development of fur, feathers, and/or scales, and in one verified report, multiple victims being fused together into a single entity. Hyper-sized anonymous power supply of an unknown, possibly biological nature. During interrogation, surviving crew members stated that SCP-4217 required a unique type of fuel. Chemical analysis found the fuel to consist primarily of organic nutrients. None of the captive crew members reported having seen the interior of the engine room. However, two claimed to have heard a sound resembling a heartbeat while in that region of the This list is based on limited observations of SCP-4217 in combat and interrogations of the few surviving crew members, and is thus not considered exhaustive. Efforts are ongoing to acquire the original design documentation. As of 1941, 527 SCP-4217 is believed to be located at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, approximately 500 to 600 kilometers off the coast of France. The Foundation currently lacks the technology to reach the wreck and verify its current condition, but the probability of SCP-4217 continuing to exhibit anonymous properties has been deemed low in light of the damage inflicted upon it prior to its sinking. Timeline: 1937. Marcus Straub, a Foundation agent working undercover in Germany, intercepts a shipment of exotic materials being transported to the city of Hamburg for the use in construction of a battleship. Several materials are recognized as important components of thermological constructs. Agent Straub is ordered to observe the construction. Upon completion of the hull, the ship is christened the Bismarck and launched for fitting out work. 1937 5-7. A large, heavy guarded shipment marked with the insignia of obscure corpse delivered to the Bismarck. Agent Straub reports hearing a sound similar to a heartbeat originating from the shipment, but is unable to get close enough to make further observations. Bismarck leaves Hamburg to begin sea trials. During what appears to be high-speed run, the Bismarck releases a massive electrical discharge and shuts down. For several seconds following this, a series of glowing symbols are visible along the hull, but the distance is too great for Agent Straub to identify them. Power is restored within an hour. 1940 9/18. SCP designation assigned. 05 Council authorizes neutralization. All agents stationed within Germany ordered to rendezvous and destroy SCP-4217 before it can be completed. 1940 9/28. Agents report readiness to launch mission. No further contact. 1940 10/1. 1940 10/11. Team is declared MIA and mission is deemed a failure. Subsequent attempts are hindered by the ongoing war. Following a 7-4-2 vote, the 05 Council concludes that the potential threat posed by SCP-4217 warrants informing the British Army. 1941 5/20. 1941 5/23. SCP-4217 is spotted by Swedish reconnaissance aircraft. This information is leaked to the British, who contacted the Foundation. The Royal Navy dispatches a fleet by HMS Hoods and HMS Prince of Wales to intercept SCP-4217. Foundation representatives meet with British Admiralty Board to coordinate on neutralizing SCP-4217. Foundation agents are placed on board select ships of the home fleet as advisors. 1941 5/24. 0552 to 0604. HSM Hood and HMS Prince of Wales engage SCP-4217 in the parentheses Enmugia in the Battle of the Bismarck Strait due to its cyclonic field and thermological reinforced armor. SCP-4217 sustains only minor damage. SCP-4217 converts the significant portion of Hood's crew into SCP-4217-1 instances, which then overwhelmed the bridge crew. Hood then sunk by enemy fire. Prince of Wales retreats. 1941 524 1100. It's discovered that SCP-4217 is leaking a substance then thought to be oil. Remaining fleet uses the trail to follow SCP-4217. 1941 524 2200. SCP-4217's anonymous defenses impede attempted attacks by torpedo bombers. Observing Foundation agents identify the defenses and relay this information to Site-41. Use of SCP blank is proposed as a countermeasure to the cyclonic field, and preparations are made to transport it. Site-41 terminology experts design plans to modify torpedoes that will overload SCP-4217's armor reinforcement. 1941 525 300. 1941 05 26. 1030. SCP-4217 temporary breaks radar contact but is eventually located by British intelligence. Events during this period do not deviate from historical record. 1941 526 1839. Foundation supply ship arrives with requested countermeasures. SCP blank nullifies cyclonic field. Modified torpedoes overload reinforcement symbols and subsequent thermological discharge causes moderate hull damage. SCP-4217 is noted to begin moving erratically. 1941 0527 843. British warships led by the HMS Ark Royal surround SCP-4217 and begin firing upon it. 1941 0527 0931. SCP-4217 is now too damaged to return fire, but remains afloat. British bombardment continues. 1941 527 1007. SCP-4217's store of mutazenical ammunition is struck. Majority of crew is exposed and become SCP-4217-1 instances. Remaining crew abandoned ship. 1941 05 27 1035. SCP-4217 starts to sink. British ships cease fire and begin rescue efforts. 1941 05 27 1039. SCP-4217 is completely submerged. Foundation teams recover SCP-4217-1 remains. Anesthetics were administered to all British crew below the rank of Emerald before being allowed to disembark. 121 members of SCP-4217's crew were successfully rescued. Following interrogations, 109 were amnesticized and transferred to British custody, while the 12 remaining were sent to Site 23 for further investigation. The remains of 74 SCP-4217-1 instances were recovered and sent to Site 23 for study. An estimated minimum 1,500 members of SCP-4217's original crew remained unaccounted for.
On 1985-02-16, a team of MTF Gamma 6 Deep Feeders was dispatched to verify the status of SCP-4217. On 1985-02-19, the surface crew reported that the dive team had remained submerged for several hours past what their oxygen supplies allowed. Shortly thereafter, they detected this distress signal from the submersible's black box recorder and retrieved it. Transcript follows. Forward. Subjects are Agents Victor, Miller, and Charles Taylor aboard a Model SM-03 submersible equipped with a Model RV-1 marine probe. Transcript begins 26 minutes into recording. Begin log. Taylor. Hey, point the lights that way. I think I saw something.
Miller, sir, pauses. Yeah, I think that's it.
Taylor. Man, I never thought I'd be happy to see a swastika.
Miller laughs. Seriously. Oh, Claire Schroet. Let the record show that we have located the wreckage of SCP-4217. We will now begin our survey of its current status.
Taylor. It looks like the stern's been buried in sand, likely from a landslide caused when it struck the base of this mountain. Wait, we're underwater? Is landslide the right word?
Miller, let the records also show that neither of us knows the word for an underwater landslide.
Taylor. Anyway, bring us in so we can confirm the kill and get out of here.
Miller, on it. Hey, the file mentioned a psychonic field. Let's check the base counter.
Taylor. Right. Looks like it's reading. Normal background level.
Miller, alright. Confirming the absence of psychonic influence.
Taylor. The ARI is showing slightly higher than normal EVE levels, but below what they said would indicate the protection ruins being active.
Miller, good. We're 2 for 2 so far.
Taylor. Yeah. Looks like this whole trip is going to be a waste of time. I don't know why they thought this thing might still be a threat. It got shelled for something like 2 straight hours, and then spent 40 years at the bottom of the ocean.
Miller, I'm not so sure. Take a look at the hull.
Taylor. What do you mean? It just looks like a normal ship's hull.
Miller, yeah, exactly. You'd think it'd have things like barnacles all over it after 4 decades.
Taylor. So it's anomalously barnacle-proof? Big deal.
Miller, it's a big deal if it means that other properties are still active.
Taylor. Yeah, I know. Hang on a sec. Let me see what else is in the file. Shuffling papers.
Miller, not much concrete info from what I remember.
Taylor. Well, says here it could regenerate. That might be a barnacle proofing. There's the mutation ammo, which supposedly got blown up, and some kind of power supply that may or may not even be. Yeah, that's not so much to go on, and the last two would be inside the hall.
Miller, well, no way the sub's going to get inside. Looks like it's time for the robot.
Taylor. Guess so. Try to find us an open hatch or something, and I'll get it started up.
Miller, I think I saw something earlier up on the bow. Yeah, here. That look big enough?
Taylor. That'll work. All right. Let's see what's inside. Extended silence. Taylor. Damn, it's in even better condition inside. It's got to be regenerating. We should have seen some sign of battle damage by now.
Miller, yeah, it's spotless. I don't even see any rust. You can still read these signs.
Taylor. Speaking of which, I think that one is pointing towards the turrets. Let's go. Extended silence.
Miller, there should be some skeletons, right? The file said 1,500 crew members were unaccounted for.
Taylor. Yeah, I know. Damn, this is creepy. Pause. Well, here it is. Let's see what's inside. What the? Beep.
Miller, we seem to have found something attached to the interior structure of one of the main turrets. It looks like stone, but that doesn't seem right.
Taylor. It looks like it's coming through that bulkhead there. I'm taking us around to the other side. Pause. Yeah, I think there's more here.
Miller, there's even more down that corridor. Seems to get thicker towards the stern.
Taylor, it looks like it's growing from that way. Beep. I really don't think this is stone.
Miller, yeah, we should probably take a sample to the surface.
Taylor, I don't think that's a good idea.
Miller, come on, man. We've got a job to do here.
Taylor, sighs. All right, I'm doing it. Pause. Beep. There's definitely not stone. It's like rubber.
Miller, all the more reason to find out what the beep it is.
Taylor, come on, you piece of. There you go.
Miller, what's that stuff coming out? Oh.
Taylor, it's. Beep. It's bleeding. Get us out of here, Vic. Low pitch rumbled. Taylor, get us out of here, Vic.
Miller, wait, what about the robot?
Taylor, beep the robot. I'm cutting the umbilical. Now let's go.
Miller, fine, I'm on it. Pauses. Did you see that on the superstructure?
Taylor, yeah. Beep, the ship has eyes. Why does it have eyes? Beep, this was supposed to be an easy mission.
Miller, 1,500.
Taylor, what was that?
Miller, I think.
Rumbling, sound of bending metal.
Miller, something grabbed us.
Sound of glass cracking. Taylor, beep, beep, there's gotta be something. Sound of rushing water. Cuts to static. End log.
The first sighting of SCP-4217 in its current form was made shortly thereafter. It was responsible for sinking 2 cargo carriers and 1 cruise liner prior to the establishment of current containment procedures. Cover stories were disseminated to explain the lost vessels. Foundation misinformation teams constructed a replica of the Bismarck and sank it 100 kilometers east of the location of SCP-4217's rediscovery. Arrangements were then made for high-profile civilian oceanographers to discover it on 1989 6-8.
Addendum to recovered documents. Following the collapse of the USSR and subsequent dissolution of GRU Division P, the Foundation acquired a number of documents that GRUP had recovered during the Soviet occupation of Germany. Among these documents were a number of obscure corpse memos believed to be related to SCP-4217, translated from the original German.
From Discern Coroner to Karl Runeter. Subject Black Force Specimen. Commander Reuter. The specimen's condition has finally stabilized, although it essentially comatose. Fortunately, this state of affairs suits our purpose. Oddly, most of the damage does not seem to be caused by the crash, but digress. I can explain more during your inspection next week if you're interested. We estimate that the nutrient supplies recovered with the specimen will last at least another month after analyzing some samples. The nutrients seem to be mostly carbon-based, with a few exotic ingredients that we should be able to synthesize. Progress on interfacing the specimen with the modern electrical systems is also on schedule. Inform B and V that Contract F should have its engine within the year. HH.
From Otto Smith to Karl Reuter. Subject Artifact. Commander Reuter. I have some reservations about your plans for the artifact. Yes, the trials did show that its effects could extend out to the ranges you desired, but they were greatly diminished. Furthermore, our test subjects have been far from peak physical or mental health. We don't know if it will do more than slightly confuse M&E crews. Please, we need to study it more before trying to use it. HH.
From Karl Rudar to Haynes Martyr. Subject Compound 17. Dr. Martyr, in the 3 years you've been given to work on your little soldier enhancement project, it has been constant disappointment. However, after reading the report on your latest failure, I believe you may have accidentally created something useful. I will be at your facility this Thursday for a demonstration of Compound 17 and its interesting side effects. If what you show me is satisfactory, I might be willing to extend your deadline. I suggest you take full advantage of this opportunity. HH.
In light of this discovery, the Foundation conducted investigations of the individuals named in these correspondences. Records indicate the death of Otto Schmidt in 1940 and Hans Meyer in 1941, with no evidence found to contradict this information. Klausner was acquired by the United States military in Operation Paperclip and later died of natural cause in 1976. The Department of Defense has thus far refused to disclose information on his post-war work. References to Karl Reuter can be found in other OPSICorps documents up until 1944. after which no further information on him has yet been found.
Addendum 3, Accident 4217-9. On 1993-722, SCP-4217 appears to enter a hostile state, and Foundation Naval Forces prepare to enact special containment procedures in response. However, before any vessels were able to fire range, Court Ranger, captain of the SCP's Nemad, noticed that SCP-4217 was not moving from the location where it had surfaced. As this was different from previous observed behavior, Captain Wagner ordered the SCP Caesar and SCP Parleon to hold position after he investigated. SCP-4217 was unresponsive to the presence of SCP-S Nemed, even when the latter drew within 200 meters. After a brief period of observation, Captain Wagner attempted to hail SCP-4217 over the radio. Transcript follows. Note: text in is translated from German. Begin log. Captain Wagner. This is Captain Kurt Wagner of the SCP named. Can you understand me? Extended silence. Captain Wagner. Repeat. This is Captain Kurt Wagner of the SCP named. Can you understand me? Please respond.
SCP-4217. Confusion.
Captain Wagner. You speak German?
SCP-4217. German. Pause. Followed by the opening bars of the Defana Ho.
Captain Wagner. Yes, clear throat. Do you understand what I am saying?
SCP-4217. Yes. You ship? Crew member. Captain, SCP-4217's eyes just focused on us.
Captain Wagner. Yes, that's us. What about you? Can you tell us what you are or where you came from?
SCP-4217. Confusion.
Captain Wagner. Do you mean you don't know or that you don't understand?
SCP-4217. Understand. Remember many. Confusion.
Captain Wagner. What do you mean, remember many? Communications officer. Captain, it's sending us a video feed. Captain Wagner, show me and make a recording of it. Communications officers. Yes, sir.
Video consists of hundreds of images in rapid succession. Notable subjects include various early 20th century German cities, an unknown artificial structure in space, Adolf Hitler delivering a speech, the HMS Ark Royal, the planet Jupiter, and the SCP-S. Caesar.
Captain Wagner, what is this?
SCP-4217. Remember many.
Captain Wagner, so these are your memories? Was that Jupiter? Is that where you are from?
SCP-4217. Confusion.
Captain Wagner, Jupiter, the big planet with the red spot. The storm?
SCP-4217. Storm. Red. The feed begins showing images of Jupiter with increasing frequency and quickly turns into a single video. The viewpoint of the video is approaching the planet, specifically the Great Red Spot. SCP-4217. Red storms. Red clouds. Crew member. Captain. The tentacles are starting to twitch. I think it's getting agitated.
Captain Wagner, put some distance between us and it. Are the weapons still trained on it? Good. Hold fire until I give the order. Tell Caesar and Parleon to prepare to engage. SCP-4217. Please calm down. What's wrong?
The video is now very close to Jupiter's Great Red Spot. Now visible in the center of the storm is SCP-2399. The image flickers and changes multiple times, first replacing SCP-2399 with the HMS Ark Royal, then the SCPS named SCP-4217. Incoherent shrieking. A bright flash obscures the video. SCP-4217 begins to fire erratically in all directions while thrashing its tentacles.
Captain Wagner, open fire.
End log. The SCPS named SCPS Caesar and SCPS Partholon subdued SCP-4217 without further incident. SCP-4217 has not responded to subsequent attempt at communication.